Hi everyone, we're going to be doing a little practice today. The intention is set on the lower back and the hips. Although all these sessions are full body practice, we want to set an intention for each practice so that we have a target area we can focus on. So to begin with, for the first pose, we're going to remain on the floor today. We're just going to go the full length of the mat. We're just going to begin upright in a nice seated position, trying to create a little bit of an arch in the back. If that's not available to you, feel free to take a block or a cushion or maybe even a folded up blanket. And what we want to do is we want to take the edge of our bum and we want to lean it on the edge of whatever we're sitting on. And that way what will happen is gravity will naturally pull us down and it'll give us naturally a little bit more give, bringing us a little bit further out of the lower back. So just from here, take your legs nice and long, point the toes up. I'm just going to continue to begin to breathe nice and deeply. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose as well. Just keep that going. Just continue to breathe in nice and deep. And then exhale until you create a nice vacuum in that lower abdomen. And then from here, we want to keep our chest nice and tall and tuck the chin slightly so we get that nice extension up the back of the neck. And then from here, we're just going to take our arms overhead, just sweeping them nice and long. We're just going to hold it like that, so we're keeping that nice arch in the back, keep ourselves nice and tall. Take a nice big inhale, and then from the hips, we're going to start leveraging down. See how low we can come. What we don't want to do is just start rounding like this. We want to keep the back as long as we can. And then wherever you get to, where you start to feel like you're just caving in on yourself, we just want to take the hands straight down there and just hold it as is. So you might just have your hands on your quads, you might have them on your ankles. If you're really flexible, you might have them on your holding onto the front of your feet, or maybe grabbing the toes, wherever's comfortable, keeping that back nice and straight. Just continue to inhale and exhale, keeping the nice deep breathing. Okay, so for here, what we're going to do is we're going to raise our knees very slightly. If you're completely down and flat, feel free to remain there. Otherwise, for the rest of us, we're going to raise the knees up slightly so that it'll allow us to lean a little bit further forward. And basically, we want to lift our knees high enough that we can get our lower abdomen to rest on our quads. So however high you need to take it to get to that point, feel free to, doesn't matter where you are today. And then keeping the arms nice and long, we're going to take a hold of the big toes with our index and middle finger. Take a nice big inhale, come up nice and straight. And then exhale, just yield, lean forward, start curving over your legs. Maybe looking down at the floor in between your knees. Keeping the neck nice and long, shoulders back. Maybe using that leverage we've got, that hook point with the feet, to maybe just gradually pull yourself nice and gently a little bit further forward. And if your cheeks are nicely placed on the legs, feel free to just start to straighten out the knees a little bit, just a little by little, until you start to feel a little bit of discomfort. And then just hold it there, and that will be your threshold point. And what we're trying to do is we're just easing off the lower back here. A lot of the lower back is connected to the hip flex, connected to the hips and the back of the legs. So what we're doing here is, although it feels like we're mainly stretching the back, we're doing a lot of work to the back of the legs as well here. So continue to inhale as fully as you can go. followed by a nice long exhale. Okay, from here, nice big inhale, rise back up to a seated position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our feet up so that they're nice and firmly placed on the ground. We're going to take our hands behind us. So feel free to either have the fingers pointing forward, or maybe for a change have them pointing the opposite direction. And then keep the chest nice and proud. And that'll just allow for a little bit of a shoulder opening here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sweep the knees to one side, bringing them down to the floor. Keeping the chest proud again, don't start to sink in, keep everything nice and upright, keep the core engaged. Inhale, come back up. And then exhale, come over to the other side. And then on each inhale, we're going to rise up. And exhale over to the opposing side, just nice and slowly, in time with the breath. And what you'll find is that as you progress, you will slowly edge your way towards your feet, and what we're causing is more of an extension in the shoulders, just gradually increasing the intensity of the stretch. And once we're at a safe amount, we're just going to come to finish, sweep the arms round, come to lie on our back. Take everything out nice and long, really stretch the toes away from you. Take the hands above the head and try and create as long a stretch as you can, creating as much space between the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes. Get nice and long. On your inhales, inhale as fully as you can. And then on the exhales, see if you can really hollow out the abdomen, create a nice vacuum, making everything nice and tight. Just repeat that a couple of times. Okay, then from here we're going to take our legs and we're going to place our feet quite close to our rears or our glutes. And then taking the left foot, we're going to ground into all four corners of the foot, getting a nice firm placement. And then from here we're just going to lift the right leg up nice and slowly, raising it up to the ceiling. So what we want here, feel free to straighten it if that's available to you, but the focus is on keeping the lower back firmly placed on the ground. So if you're straightening your legs but you find your bum's coming off the floor, feel free to bend the knee to allow you to keep that bum firmly placed on the ground, really grounding the lower back into the floor. So if you need to keep it bent like so, feel free to do that. The intention is the lower back, not the straightening of the leg. So from here, we're going to take our hands and we're just going to cup them round, take hold of the back of the leg. We're just going to gradually pull it towards us, maybe over time, straightening the leg if that's available to you. The intention is to try and maintain length down the lower back whilst pulling the leg towards you. If there's availability to start straightening the knee, feel free to. Continue to breathe nice and deeply. You might feel it in a few places. You might feel it in the lower back. You might feel it low across the back of the hips. Or you might feel it across the front of the foot or maybe in the calf. And then wherever you are today, what we're going to do is we're just going to engage the foot, just rotating it, so extending it, contracting it, just nice and slowly. And then maybe twist the foot one way. Then reverse direction. So whatever feels good right now, keeping everything nice and engaged. Keep pulling that leg towards you. Okay, and then from here we're just going to bring it back down to the floor. Place it on the ground. Then we're just going to open the hip, the right hip to the side. So opening it up. And then keeping the left knee straight ahead. We're just going to lower that leg to the ground, pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. So we should have a good hip opener here. You should feel it across the inner thigh, maybe the groin muscles. Try and keep both bum muscles firmly on the ground. And then in order to make this into a full body posture, feel free to take your arms to the side, taking the elbows up nice and wide, pointing the hands up away from you, so in a Texas T. Keeping everything nice and flat on the ground. Don't try and force the hip to open. Wherever your right knee gets to, just let it settle there. And just let gravity do its work. Breathe nice and deeply. Take the time, soften or close the eyes. Anything to put you in a more restful state here. Okay, then from here, going to lift the knees back up. Firmly place that left foot back into the ground again, into all 4 points. Then we're going to keep in the lower back. Remember to keep that still firmly placed into the ground. We're going to slowly bring the right knee back up again. If it's available to you, we're going to go a little higher this time, so maybe you want to take a hold of the calf. Or, if it's available, you can take your right middle and index finger and hook it around your big toe. You want to give this a go, but you've not quite got the arm length, feel free to use a strap or a tie or a belt or a towel or anything. And basically you're just going to loop it around the top of the base of the foot, and that'll give you a foothold to practice with. So wherever you are today, just feel comfortable wherever you are, taking the knee up nice and close to the chest, and then nice big inhale. And then on an exhale, see if you can start to straighten that leg a little bit more. Keep firmly pressing into the mat with your back. Get a nice long stretch across the low body. Wherever you are with your leg today, try and pull that right shoulder back into the ground. You're almost going into a half happy baby here. And that should give you a nice long stretch across the back, the legs, into the hips, whilst also keeping the lower back nice and lengthened. Don't worry if you're shaking a little bit here, it's perfectly natural. And then if it's available to you, maybe on an inhale, lifting the nose up to the knee, and that'll just allow you to straighten out that lower back a little bit more whilst getting a nice big stretch up the neck. And then lowering down, taking the right foot to the ground, nice and slowly. Okay, and then we're going to go out nice and long again, toes to one side, fingers to the other, nice and long, nice big inhale. And then exhale, come back in. I would take it to the left leg this time. So really grounding into the right foot, all 4 points. Grounding the hips as well, really pressing into that lower back. We're going to very slowly lift the left leg up. Going to take hook around the back of the hamstring. We're just going to slowly raise it up as far as comfortable. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Just ensure the hips are still pushing into the ground evenly on both sides. Take a nice big inhale, and on the exhale, see if you can bring it a little bit closer. Once you found the threshold point, just feel free to remain there. Just keep engaging. Maybe engaging and disengaging the foot, just extending and contracting. Nice and slowly. Maybe rotating it in one direction. Keep that connection with the ground. Keep the elbows tucked in nice and tight here. Maybe rotate the foot in the other direction. If it doesn't feel good, just don't do it. Keep the foot nice and still. We're just adding in extra dynamic movements into this for those that are able. If your body doesn't like it today, don't force it, don't push anything. Okay, and then in your own time, very slowly lower it to the ground. And then from here, we're going to open the left leg this time, out to the side. It's a nice stretch across the groin. And then with the right leg, we're going to push that up nice and long, toes pointed to the ceiling. Make sure you're firmly placed on the ground, you're grounded into both sides of the hip. And then we're just going to take the hands to the side again, elbows up nice and wide, forearms pointing to the wall behind you. And then just breathing as deeply as you can. And exhale very slowly until you hollow out the lower body. Take your time with it, don't force the opening across the legs. Just let gravity do its work, very slowly pulling the left leg towards the ground. Soften or close the eyes. If any muscles feel fully engaged, see if there's a way just to turn them off a little bit, just to ease them back. And you might find the stretch becomes a little bit more intense that way. Okay, lifting the knees back up again. We're going to ground that right leg one more time, really firmly into the ground. I'm going to lift the leg up, left leg up again. This time, maybe take it a bit further, maybe grabbing a hold of the calf if that's available to you, or maybe experimenting with taking the middle and index finger and hooking it around the big toe. Straightening out that leg, really pushing through the base of the heel to get more extension, and really firmly placing the glutes on the ground. Getting nice, long, straight back. own time, try and bring that left shoulder to the ground so that you've got nice lengthened. Again, practicing doing a half happy baby. Soften or close the eyes wherever you are today. Just enjoy it. Embrace the stretch. See if you can yield any of the muscles a little bit more. Just try and soften everything. See if there's a little bit more space to move. See if you can bring your nose up, a little bit up, create a nice stretch across the back of the spine. Really getting that stretch across the lower back, feel that sinking into the ground. And then rest back down. And in your own time, take the left leg, place it on the ground, nice and gently. And then this time, taking the feet together, we're going to take both legs out wide into a lying down cobbler's pose modification. See if you can get the base of your feet to touch each other, knees out wide. And then we're just going to take our time, take our arms above our head, create a nice full body stretch one more time, really opening up the shoulders, getting a nice stretch across the lats. Shoulders nice and open, nice and long. Tuck the chin slightly. On each inhale, feel that expansion. And then on the exhale, really feel that vacuum in the lower abdomen. Have a check-in with your inner thigh. Are you tensing anywhere? Are you letting everything just go limp? See if you can soften the muscles here. Go out nice and wide. Maybe push the feet into each other a little bit. Create a nice firm stance. That'll engage the muscles just enough to maybe open the hips up just a little bit wider. Okay, from here, bringing everything back in. What we're going to do is we're going to take the legs hip width apart again, and we're just going to drop the legs to the left, just as far as they can go, keeping both shoulders firmly placed on the ground, nice and even pressure. And if it's available to you, maybe taking the left foot and placing it on top, gently on top of the right knee. And all that does is it just intensifies that stretch a little bit further. You might find it quite intense on the quad, which has a lot of connections to the knee. So if you find your knee is not liking this, just back it off, just take that left foot back to the ground. We're not trying to push the knees today. We're not wanting to cause any injuries. Okay, and from here, just release that left foot, slowly raise yourself back up, and then on an exhale, take it to the other side. Maybe you need to reposition yourself a little bit. And again, if it's available to you, taking the right foot on top of the left knee. Feel free to keep your arms wherever is most comfortable. They could be across your stomach. They could be out nice and wide. They could be in a cactus position. It could be overhead if you want to engage the shoulders a little bit more. Wherever's most comfortable. Ultimately, you want to be in a restful position where, if in theory we were to hold this for the next 15 minutes, you wouldn't be straining, you wouldn't be uncomfortable, you'd be able to just yield into the pose. And wherever that is for you today, that's perfectly okay. Okay, from here we'll bring our knees back up, and we're just going to take both knees in. We're just going to hug them in nice and close, maybe giving ourselves a little bit of a back massage, rolling side to side. Okay, and this time we're going to experiment with full happy baby here. So opening the legs nice and wide. I'm going to start by taking the outside edges of our feet here. And then we're going to really dig our elbows into the sides of the legs, keeping them out nice and wide. Ensuring we've got the back, lower back, firmly pressed into the ground. We're just going to slowly raise both legs up. So if you find you start to come off the lower back, just push yourself back down again and really enforce that intention. If you can't straighten the legs up, it's primarily due to tight hamstrings. Wherever you get to, try and keep the shoulders engaged into the floor. Maybe you get your legs to a 90-degree bend. Maybe you only get them maybe like 3 degrees. Maybe you're able to straighten the legs altogether. Wherever you find yourself being today, just embrace it. For those that naturally are quite tight like myself, you'll have less of a range of movement here. And those that are flexible or maybe hyper flexible, you might be able to go quite a bit further. See if you can still engage the quads, pulling them into your knee, especially those that are hyper flexible. You really want to be engaging those quads, and that'll strengthen the muscles around the joints, preventing injuries in future. If you're tight like myself, the intention is just focusing on making sure that your lower back is firmly placed on the ground. And then on each exhale, see if there's room just to lift the feet just maybe a millimeter further each time. Still breathe a nice full breath in. A nice slow exhale until you create a vacuum in the lower abdomen. Okay, taking the feet together, we're just going to slowly take the legs back down to the ground. Maybe give them a little bit of a window wiper just to loosen off the back body. And then in your own time, we'll come up to a nice, comfortable seated position. Just crossing the legs in anywhere that seems comfortable to you. Sitting up nice and tall. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take our left, rotate to the right, focusing on rotating from the chest, the full body trying to turn around. We're going to grab the right leg with the left arm, take our right arm behind us, and staying up nice and tall, we're just going to try and see if we can rotate around, see how far around we can bring the chest. On your inhales, feel that stretch intensify. And then on the exhales, see if there's a little bit more of space that you can maybe move into, maybe allowing you to rotate a little bit further around. Okay, then on your next exhale, release back to the center. And then taking the right arm to the left leg this time. Just on an inhale, we're going to rotate round the opposite direction. Keeping the chest nice and proud. Keep you up nice and tall as well. The taller you can make yourself, the more natural you'll be able to rotate. Keeping the chest nice and proud. Nice big inhales. And then on the exhales, play around if there's a little bit of space. And on your next exhale, come back to center. Let's come up to a nice seated position, nice and tall. And thank you for joining me today for this practice. Have a good week ahead.